Hello, everyone, and thanks for joining us on this episode of the Pave It Forward podcast. My name is Phil Metzger, and with me is Kevin Gray, and we are here to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal customer, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Kevin, how are we doing today, my man?
I'm good, brother. I'm good. We're back at it. Taking a few weeks off here, man. Settling in with the new babe, with Teddy.
Yeah, Teddy's doing great.
Is that good, man?
A lot of scares. Had a huge lump on his throat. That was just a ball of muscle, thankfully, and all kinds of new feelings that come along with being a parent.
Indeed.
All that stuff that I was fortunate enough to be told by my parents that one day I'm going to know how it feels, and it's great, man. I absolutely love it. I've never been more thrilled getting less sleep.
Yeah,
and
right.
Yeah, it definitely gives a new special meaning to all the work that we put in. You know, just feeling like there's more of a future than just, you know, besides my wife, you know, myself. And it's really neat. How about you, man? How are things here? How it's been a good month since we really caught up.
It has, man. It was actually kind of perfect timing for you to go off and have a kid, man. It gave us that little pause we were able to take. Although we only get together, once a week to do this, I mean, we're always kind of working on it in the background and chatting and brainstorming, coming up with new ideas and whatnot. So it was really a good timing to take a pause because most of you know that have been listening, we kind of had that mass exodus of turnover, which has been great for the company and the culture and all things going forward. And about that same time, we're getting these large contracts in, starting to get into some of these multiple of hundreds, if not into thousands of tons of jobs here, and it. So we've been able to focus on that here at ADC. So good timing for us to take a short pause. Really been anxious to get back into these podcasts and into the thought processes that come along with Pave It Forward and everything that you and I do collectively as a team, in our partnership. But yeah, it's allowed us to kind of focus here at ADC. Around what it's going to look like for the next few months with these large projects. We've been trying folks out at a lot of different positions, been doing a lot of cross-training, getting people uncomfortable doing new things, which everybody's always like, if we let someone else try it, then we're going to mess it up, or it's not going to look good, or it's not going to be exactly how, what our standard is. And it's like, if we don't ever do that, we're just going to keep relying on the same people to do the same things every day, which is fine if everybody shows up and everybody's healthy and everybody's whatever. But it's like we've, especially with as big as these jobs are, we've incorporating multiple rollers on most of these now, so we've been pretty reliant on one, maybe 1.5 roller operators for the last several years. It's like we need 2, 3, 4 guys that are capable of doing that. The beautiful thing, the paver we've gone to is a 3-man. There's no option for 2-man operation on this paver, so we've got to have 3 guys up there at all times. The beautiful thing is, as well as it paves, and especially once we get these electronics put on it here in, should be another, 4 or 5 weeks. But even so far to date, I mean, it's been pretty effortless for our ground guys when that machine's doing what it's supposed to do. I mean, there's very little raking going on, very little shoveling. So really, you get 3 men on that paver, 2 or 3 guys rolling, and then the ground guys are kind of just walking around looking for stuff to do most of the time. So that's been pretty cool. But it's also been an opportunity to give those guys a chance to try some other things out as well. So. Yeah, we're it's June 17th. Here comes the big push and the meat and potatoes of the season for the next 3 months, and then it'll be the grind, the playoff season, if you will, to the finish line. So
it's been neat to be on because I've been on one really big job and another rider parking lot that was here in town, and I've noticed that a lot of the guys, which I haven't noticed in years past, aren't. When they see an opportunity, they're going ahead and jumping in. There was Andre on the big job that hopped on the paver when you needed to step away and handle business. Yeah. And then one of your prep guys, Rick, was on site yesterday, and he jumped on and helped. And
Yeah.
it's really neat to see that, and it's also really neat to see the new paver.
Yeah, yeah.
That's the Weiler P395.
That's the 395. Yeah.
Yeah, that thing's a beast. So what? Before we get started here, I guess what kind of? You said you're gonna make some additions to it, technology-wise.
Yeah. There's just the electronics. It's the Trimble system, which we have for the 385 Weiler that we have. We're just waiting on the wiring harness piece of it that taps in to the 395. We'll still be able to use the joint match and slope control pieces of the hardware, if you will, from the 385 on the 395. But yeah, you get those things hooked on there, so it's running your slope, your grade, your depth, your joint matching. So we're making these big long pulls, and instead of myself or Jake, we've been the primary screed operators on the screw. Like I said, we've had a few several guys get up there, and I've intentionally kind of disappeared for an yesterday I was supposed to take a 30-minute phone call, and I was gone for an hour and a half. But if I don't, because I'm incapable of standing on the sidelines, so if I don't remove myself, nobody's going to get up there. So when we get those electronics, I mean, we literally can have the operator up top running that machine, and in theory, both gates and sides of the screed of that paver will be operating themselves. They'll be reading on the lead side where we're setting the depth, which is basically controlling the amount of material we're using for the job. It's going to be reading the pavement out in front of it and saying how what minor adjustments it needs to make to stay on depth or to stay on a grade. And then on the joint matching side, it's going to be reading the previous pull that we just made before it. It's going to be reading the elevation of that, and basically putting that shoe where it's matching that last panel, if you will. It's going to be putting it exactly at the height or elevation of that last panel. So
that's cool, man.
It's going to be seamless, and we get pretty darn seamless manually around. We don't like to see any joints. We want to see that butter.
That's right. That's right. So
we very little raking as it is already. But when we get that stuff added on, I mean, it's set it and forget it. And 150, 170 feet a minute, hopefully. We've been running about 100. We've had that thing up to 150 feet a minute a couple times. We're probably averaging 125, 130 feet a minute right now on our big open pulls. So that thing's got plenty more to give. So we'll get it cranking.
Man, that's cool. Yeah, I wonder. So the base model that doesn't have those extra electronics, is that an option? Do you think that most people just choose, or do they not have the components ready, or like how the electronics package? I didn't know. Like if some people choose not to use it.
Some do. It's an upgrade. I think all the machines come with they're fit for the electronics. It's got the it'll have the plug-ins.
Right.
For it to add the wiring harness. But it's an investment. Luckily we already have the expensive side of the Trimble system, being the two sensors and the hardware components. That was $25,000 I think when we got it for the 385. So it's a 25 to depending on what system you use, $25, $30, maybe even $40,000 add-on.
Wow.
To an already $280,000, $300,000 machine. So it's how far, and there's some add-ons that we didn't. Most of them were things we probably like lights and some stuff like that we shouldn't use too much anyway, that we chose not to get. But it's just a matter of how much you want, how many bells and whistles you want to throw on these things.
Sure.
Like I said, I mean, we've been running it pretty stock for now. And have been doing just fine.
You all were flying.
We're going
project
fast.
Up in Sharonville, you all were flying.
We were flying.
Usually when I take a lunch break, it's, there'll be a couple pulls down, but I mean, it was an open lot. But I mean, you guys were flying.
Yeah,
I mean, that first day, you got at least an additional 20 or 30% of the job done, I think.
We
on the
did,
first
yeah.
day.
Yeah, we went, almost it was about 40% additional. Down now, that was a dream job. You got 350 foot long pulls. I think there was 26 of them. 26 350 foot pulls.
Yeah.
So that's a dream. You
Let's
pull
keep
up
those jobs up.
Oh man,
Get to work, Phil.
Yeah, those are awesome. So that's a lot of fun, man.
Yeah.
When you're going that fast.
And the
so.
crew was off the job at a decent time. Unfortunately, the power went off in the hotel. But
Right.
They all got to enjoy an evening together, and it was good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty cool when, we didn't start paving till about, I think it was about 8:30, 9 o'clock that morning, and you got 811 tons down by 3:30 in the afternoon, and you can say, let's wrap it up now.
Yeah.
If it weren't 105-degree heat index, we probably would have pushed, if we would have, now we were kind of waiting on the milling crew that first day to get enough ahead of us to start.
Sure.
If we could have had a normal, kind of sun up, 6:30, 7 a.m., started paving that day, and it weren't 105, 110-degree heat index, there's no doubt in my mind that those, I think that job ended up being right at 1,350 tons. I mean, at an inch and a half, which is covering a lot of ground. There's no doubt we could have knocked that out in a day's time. Probably set, 10 hours maybe.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and a couple of the guys were even wanting it too, which I like. As you said, the kind of attitudes have improved, since the whole transition happened early, and it really was. The guys seemed to be all about it, and it was cool.
Yeah.
It's really cool. Well, hope everyone out there is having a great day today as we look to bring you, the Asphalt business owner, the value that you are looking for. Some time has passed, as we kind of said. We've been busy in our personal lives, and I've been in a different state than Kevin. But like you guys, most of you paving business owners, I know that you have been busy too. Very quickly, I just want to thank everyone who submitted answers for the paving industry report. We've gathered all the answers and are putting the report into digestible information. And we'll be soon sending out the schedule, and we've sent out invites for guests and leaders as well. So we're looking forward to that. But
yeah, that's going to be really cool. Again, looking forward to that.
Yeah, we've got our list together, and we're definitely excited to fit these interviews in when we can. I know everyone's busy, but
how many interviews are we going to try to?
We're gonna send out 8. There are 8 questions that we thought were really good discussion topics.
Yeah.
So we'll be on that, matching up some people's schedules here and trying to get everyone on board here shortly.
Do we have 8 folks that we're targeting? Do we have got interest from 8?
We do. What's on your mind?
I'm just saying, if there's anyone that's listening that may want to be involved with that, shoot us a message. Say, hey, I'd like to get on the panel or be one of the,
Absolutely. Yeah,
whatever.
we have lots of, especially in the off season, we plan on using a lot of these different features like live and stuff like that. But
that'll be fun.
For right now, everyone's just so busy. It's tough to get together. But we do plan on trying to bring you guys some creative stuff.
I think we did a few of those at like 5 a.m. last year, just to be able, 4:30, 5 a.m. just to be able to get that person's time for the day. So
yeah, that's right.
To do those interviews. So
yeah, it was, and we appreciate everyone taking the time to do that. It certainly was appreciated by a lot of the industry.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
since it's been a few weeks, I thought we would really just continue to kind of catch up, because I know a lot of people who set goals over the winter, and a lot of enthusiasm is there in the crew, to the office staff, to the leaders at the beginning of the season. And that heat index is getting up there, and days are getting longer, and all that stuff. Too. So I was just wondering if you could kind of give us a general update on the company, the crew, and just kind of the overall pulse of ADC now that the year is hot and started.
Yeah, I mean, it's I really feel like it's June 17th. Man, I can't believe it's almost already July. Like half of 2022 is going to be over in 2 weeks. It's like, geez. I mean, it seems like we were kind of just finishing up last season, and here we are, a third of the way, if not a little more, into the next. And it's like, considering everything that's gone down, I really feel like we're getting settled in, hunkering down, if you will. Again, taking some time to do that cross training, getting people in the right seat. I mean, I can't stress how important that is, and I've really tried to be mindful of that this season, probably more so than I have ever before. It started to make sense to me a little bit last year, but just getting people in the right spot, and not necessarily the right spot that serves us as a business or me as the owner or leader or whatever. Talking to managers and field, superintendent, foreman people kind of out there. Not what suits us the best, although we do need some of that, require some of that, but getting people into spots that they want to be in, asking people, what do you want to do when you come to work tomorrow? Like, what job do you see yourself in, or if they're entry level or have only kind of still green or been here a season or two, like where do you see yourself in 3 to 5 years? What piece of equipment do you want to be on, or do you want to be in sales, maybe, whatever it may be, and start preemptively planning their path. Get what's that path look like for each individual, instead of just throwing people where you may need them for the day. Really start working with and be mindful of. You can't be thoughtful and mindful of that all the time, every day, day in and day out, but you have some of those conversations with these folks, you at least get to know where they want to go, what is going to ultimately make them happy, what they enjoyed. Some guys you ask to be an equipment operator, and they have, because they're good at it, they may not even want to do that. They may get more satisfaction doing more of the manual stuff, manual labor stuff. I'm kind of that way. Like I like operating the equipment, but I just as much like getting in there and getting dirty and going hard.
Sure.
Different strokes for different folks. I think that's probably been the biggest thing that we've had a mindfulness about this year is an extreme focus on the cross training element and getting people in the spots that they want to be in, because long term, I think that's going to retain your employees, and B, it's going to boost your efficiencies, your production, your quality. If people are doing things they want to be doing, like all that stuff's going to get just a natural bump, just out of proximity. So,
sure.
Yeah, man, it's I tell you, I mean, as rough and bumpy as we started, and as weird as things were, and as shaky as I guess kind of just the environment and the atmosphere and the culture were with some of the personnel, now that they've been that we've kind of been back to the old ADC, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
If it's kind of the same old folks,
Yeah.
the same. We've got a few new additions around still, but it's mainly the core group. Like it's starting to feel like the family again.
Yeah.
It's starting to feel good, and we're getting settled back into that. And people are starting to trust each other and communicate and holding each other accountable, and really thriving on the things that are important to us. The standard, the culture, just kind of who we are. So
Sure.
it's feeling good. It's stressful. We've had some turnover here in the office here recently. So there's been some additional stress on that side of the business, especially when you're doubling revenue. So you're basically you're probably not doubling the amount of paperwork or transactions or processes that come through the office, because we hope that average job size is raising too. So it
Sure.
shouldn't mean double the amount of jobs. It should mean there's going to be more jobs if we're doubling revenue, but hopefully they're getting these larger ticket prices, so it's not exactly double the amount of work or job.
Everything necessarily.
Not doubling the paperwork, but it is increasing. So there's some strain there. We've definitely got some strain on the maintenance side of the business, on the seal coating department, just trying to get that dialed in, and get the right people in the right places, and figure out who wants to be the leader and who doesn't. And one thing that's been cool is Lewis, who's been with us, he sold for us back several years ago. He's come back the last couple of years to help us on that seal coating and maintenance side of the business. We've had him in kind of a leadership foreman position for the last year or so, and he came to us last week, and he's like, and I've known this for a while. He's like, look, guys, he's like, I've known this forever. Lewis is a hustler. He's always got his hand in some of his own ventures and business opportunities and entrepreneurial spirit about him. He said, I just want to be honest that I don't know that I can give 100% to ADC in a leadership position. So I can be here. I want to do the job. I want to help you guys out. I'll do whatever you need, but maybe that much of an expectation of me is unrealistic right now, because I am starting to get some traction with some of the other, ventures I'm personally working on, and instead of him, continuing to run with that leadership role, and us ultimately probably find out or figure out or see through, actions or lack thereof, hey, you're not quite doing your job. You know,
Sure.
he was honest enough to tell us what was going on. So
Yeah.
we've backed him just into a normal kind of labor position. And so we've got, you know, we're set up. We anticipated running 2 seal coat crews this year, and we've got 2 trucks and tanks and trailers and the striping equipment to go along with that maintenance side ready to rock. So it's still finding a couple guys there that want to lead that side of the business. So playing with some things there, but you know, other than that, man, it's business as usual, and um, the work's flowing in, the big work, the mill and pave kind of stuff, and then the big seal coating works coming in nicely. So that's the stuff that we want to be on, where we can mobilize just once or twice a week and knock out a couple big projects a week, and that'd be it. So
Absolutely.
it's a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, I've tried to put my finger on what's different about the crew this year. And I don't know if it maybe not being in the average year in the beginning of the year, because maybe they feel like they got their team back or something like that, and like they're clicking. Like when you do leave, after they realize that I'm not in control of anything, I just have the camera and all that stuff, you know, they would let their guard down, and there would be a lot of breaks, and there would be a lot of stuff, and it really is neat to see almost the communication without even having to say much of anything between the guys out there this year without you there. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So I don't know what it is, but maybe we'll figure that out, and we can kind of share that stuff, because when we first started this, really changing the culture and the pride in your work and showing up every day a few years ago, like I assumed you had been doing it for years before I got here, just because you already had it so ingrained in you, that's what you wanted to happen. And I feel like maybe you're really starting to kind of see some of that in your daily work. Maybe you don't see it because you're not there, you know what I mean?
Right.
But it's really cool to see how the crew really kind of gets along and shares that aspect of communication together. And obviously after a few more months of heat, we'll see how it goes. But the guys the guys that have stepped up, it's really neat to see that they had that they are enjoying the work and enjoying working together, and it's really cool, man.
Yeah, it sure is.
Has there been a thought or principle from like either past years' experience that you've kind of thought that's popped up again as being valuable, something that's just happened in the past that has served you well?
Oh man, I don't.
The reason I ask is because you seem so calm, all the time, and then you then when you sit down and you talk about how your blood pressure is getting back down to where it needs to be. So it's really always fascinating to me to watch you, and particularly you have a way with being able to talk to people and encourage people and stuff like that, yet things still get done.
Most of the
time. As you said, everyone has their moments. But, it's just...
I got frustrated yesterday, but, I mean, that's going to happen. We were out there 3 hours longer than we should have been. There was a bad wreck on the interstate that really screwed us up, because we had a pretty good game plan, and... but go ahead, finish your thought.
That was just... I just didn't know if there was, like, a repeating thought that or a mentality that you really keep, because I know it's your personality, but there has to be some keys for you.
No, there is, and I was actually just talking to Cindy about it, and first and foremost, the principle that I've got to always be mindful of, if I want to be a good leader, establish a culture that I feel like we all that serves all of us best, is just constantly reminding myself that I've got to coach my team. I've got to be present. I've got to be willing to listen. I've got to be patient. I've got to be willing to accept that things aren't always going to be great and smooth, and that this is what I was talking to Cindy about. Is talking about how frustrated that Jake and I get sometimes out there, and sometimes with each other still. But we're actually really figuring ourselves out a little bit this year, and I think we're getting to a place we haven't quite been yet, as good as he is, and there's always I feel like there's maybe been a sense of pride or something with him that's always you know, kind of he's had his guard up, or has always wanted to. And a lot of that comes with some of his youth too. Like he didn't want me or anyone else to know that he didn't know how to do something, or wasn't quite trained enough, or didn't have something mastered quite yet or figured out. And like there's no shame in that you're still learning how to do some things, and that you don't have everything quite figured out. And I feel like he's kind of just he's let that go. Like so it's been very beneficial to the conversations we're able to have. I am able to coach and mentor and teach, and in turn he's also like I'm also listening a lot more to where he's coming from, or his side, or opinion, or perspective on like it's been a pretty cool balance, and I think if that continues to be fostered, that could be really cool. But what I was talking to Cindy about is, Jake and I sometimes will get frustrated with some of the other guys, especially some of the newer guys, or guys that we've put into a position that they've maybe only been doing it 3-6 months, even guys have been doing things a year. And I pulled Jake aside yesterday. We were both frustrated. I can't remember who did what, or it was somebody that was in a skid steer. It might have been, I think it was chopping off the end of our pulls, and not looking to make sure that thing was completely straight, because really we want to pull past the line when we're paving these long panels, because if you stop short of the line or right at the line, that screed's going to sink because you've ran out of material underneath of it. So we like to come a couple of feet, 2, 3, 4 feet even, doesn't really matter, because we get the material anyway and put it back in the paver. You pull past the line so you keep your elevation. The skid steer comes and chops it off and pulls it back. And theoretically, we've got a stop line painted here. That line should be straight as an arrow. And we look up through there, and this line's like, and that's going to be, by the way, that's going to be your cold joint for the job. It's going to probably be your coldest joint of the whole job, because that's likely going to be your last pull out the door. And so if that thing's not straight, you're going to have a joint that looks like crap, and it's usually one coming in one of the entrances. That's right. The way you get out.
Going right through the entire parking lot.
Yeah, so this beautiful, 350 by 300 square that's immaculate, and then you got the way in, looks like what, that thing grabs your eyes, like.
Sure. And
Jake said, and I'm thinking it too, like, man, that's not even hard. How that's not that hard. How hard can that be to cut that straight? Or like, God, I've told him 100 times. Or, well, how straight would you have cut that line if you've only been doing this 6 months? Like, think back 10 years, because he and I've both been doing it. I've been in this about 12 years. He's probably been doing it, I'd say, close to 10 by now. It's like, think about when you were first getting started, and if someone asked you to do that and you were in charge of that for the day, how straight would your line have been?
Yeah.
And like, it's like have the wherewithal, have the just acknowledge that just because we would have done it a certain way, or we know how to do it because we've been doing it 10 years, doesn't mean that the guy that's even been doing it a couple years, been with us a couple years, he ought to know how to do it. Well, he should, but he's only done it 100 times. We've done it 1,000 times. Like, of course we're going to do it better, or we've found something else, an easier way to do it, or a better practice that gets a better result. It's like, don't just, let's not walk around and bitch about it and complain about it. Like, right. God, that line should have been straight. Like, what, slow down. Let's go talk to this guy for 5 minutes. Say, hey, it's a perfect opportunity to coach, to mentor, to train, to do this thing instead of immediately going to, and it's tough, especially when it's 3, 4, 5 in the afternoon, when we were hoping to get done at 1 or 2 to beat the heat. Intentionally came in at 5:30 yesterday to be done by 2 or 3 o'clock, and the accident on the highway, really crushed us. So then now it's hot and we're pissed and the line's not straight, and it's, so that's become a big deal, and we got frustrated, and it's like, instead of immediately going to frustration, anger, disappointment, whatever, it's like, all right, well, who, now if it's a 10-year guy that did it, maybe we've got to probably, dude, you know how to cut that straight, like, sure. You just didn't care today or what? It's a different conversation. most of the time it's going to be somebody's learning or somebody doesn't have quite as much of experience, and just because we know how to do it doesn't mean they know how to do it or do it as well. So just having that patience to go train, go teach, go have a quick conversation, maybe even demonstrate it, maybe even show them, if you want them to do it right, why don't you show them, if there's 10 of these, why don't you show them how to do the first two, how you do it. They can do it that way or not. I don't care. You got to get from A to Z. I don't care what the middle of the, B to Y look like, right?
Yeah.
We're just trying to get to the same end result.
Nice. So start with a little bit of patience and work on the education and coaching aspect
patience
of it.
is huge. I mean, that's something similar that I took that stance last year. It might even been a year before that. I was like, I've got to coach the team. I've got to be the coach. I don't need to be the boss. I don't have to be the leader. I don't have to be the guy. I don't even care to be the guy in charge. I wish there were guys that would step up and be the guys in charge, because ultimately, I shouldn't have to be out there, running, managing, participating in all of our work. I don't know. I'll probably still do that for the remainder of my career because I enjoy it. That's, if I want to go pave 1,000 tons today, I'm gonna hop up on the paver and pave 1,000 tons. If I want to go spray a huge parking lot with seal coat, I've got that liberty, I guess. It's because I signed the checks. I'm gonna go run the seal coat.
Sure.
If I want to, or whatever. But the goal is to get people underneath that are, kind of being the assistant coaches or coach of that division or coach of that team. So I've got to do a good job being the example of what that looks like. So if I'm always getting frustrated, then they're learning that when things go bad, to get frustrated or to handle it this way. It's almost like your child. They're going to mock or mimic or replicate how's dad do it.
Yeah.
How's dad brush his teeth? How's dad tie his shoes?
Sure.
How's whatever the little quirks, or how's dad handle those situations.
Yeah.
It's similar with your teams, your employees, so it's just having that mindfulness of culture, of leadership, of coaching, training, example. The TCS Elite call that I was able to lead this week was talking about culture, and we talked about culture and the 10 things that require zero talent. And it to me, the core of culture is comes down to the person that's the leader. It's culture is basically established by the leader and the people mimicking those traits. Doesn't have to be exact. Again, it's not one of those things that has to be exactly how that person does it, but if you're getting the same results, then that's cool. So
Sure.
If I can do that and start getting leadership people doing that, then the subordinates are doing that, and then the whole team's doing it. So it's that's what I'm focused on.
Can you think of a certain conversation or anything that you and Jake had that may have brought down that wall? Because you said there was that wall maybe where he didn't feel comfortable stepping up and asking for education, and then
I knew he called me out on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you mind sharing?
Huh?
Do you mind sharing?
Not at all. No, that's what made it. And I don't mind sharing. I'm not going to use the word issues, but Jake and I have had our disagreements, or haven't seen things eye to eye, or certain behaviors or whatever.
Different people around each other a lot.
Yeah, whatever. He's an awesome individual, and that's even through some of that stuff. There's a reason he's still here, in part. We want him here, and he wants to be here. So it's a mutual. We both want the best for the situation. But it was after, and I haven't shared everything, I guess, but there's some things going on personally outside of ADC that kind of have shifted, I guess, some of my hours here, if you will. Just some different things we're trying out, and I may have taken advantage of that a little bit, or maybe not. What I didn't do was explain to the team that my hours were going to look a little different on, especially a couple days a week. I wasn't going to be quite as available. These guys are used to me being here at 6:30 every morning, like clockwork. And then there got to be, a couple days a week I wasn't available until 9 o'clock. Big part of the reason we, hired all the guys earlier in the year, the operations guy and then all the foremen with it was like, after last season, it's like, I personally cannot continue to operate the way I operated last year. I was unhealthy. I was worn down, mentally, physically, got into, some bad habits and wasn't taking care of myself the way that I had been, and, really worked hard at getting myself into better mental, physical, emotional shape, if you will. And just, some of those habits, got pushed to the wayside because I was, physically and mentally struggling. So like, last thing I want to do is get up at 4:30 and run. I need an extra hour of sleep.
Sure.
And it's a chain reaction. So we hired, the leadership management folks, and then I really kind of stepped back when they came around. I was like, all right, they got it. They told me to step back. They didn't tell me to, I'm not going to step back to where I'm just letting them have a free for all with this business we've established and worked really hard at the last 12 years. And,
Sure.
Give them the keys to the kingdom. But, my very active role in this business became very different almost overnight when they came. And even after they left, I still thought we had enough of the right leadership or personnel or whatever you want to call it, to where I didn't, because I told myself over the off season when we made I was like, I will not do what I did last year. Like, I will not. It's not healthy for me. It doesn't serve me or my family or my employees.
Right.
So I was pretty stuck on, I'm not going to do that. And I kind of had it wrong what that meant and looked like. I mean, it made me appear to be an absent, at least a more absent owner or leader, because I had been so engaged for every year. I go for 10, 11 seasons. I've been, first one here, last one to leave, on every job. If we were out till 10, 11 o'clock at night, midnight with the headlights on, getting the job done. I mean, I was there with them, and so I really stepped back from that, and that's kind of what Jake called me out on. He was like, because I would give it to him a few days, but then there would be days where I would be absent, or I wasn't given enough, or I wasn't. He struggled out on a job or something. I'm just making an example, and I wasn't there to help him through the issue or the problem, or there to answer the question. He could have picked up the phone and called me. I mean, he would have got me, but the point was I wasn't there. He's like, you want, and this is what I think broke the wall down or changed it, because we talk about holding each other accountable, whether it's you holding your teammate accountable, foreman holding one of the team members accountable. I said, it can be the lowest paid guy in the company holding the owner accountable. Like, if we're going to have an open communication, accountable culture here, like, anybody should be able to call me out on anything. Like, I'm no different or better than anyone here. Like, I don't get special treatment. And he said, you talk about how you want to teach me and train me, and I need all of this training and mentorship, and if I want to be the kind of foreman and leader that you want me to be. And he's like, so I'm watching your example, and you're not setting a very good example right now. Like, straight called me out. I said, you know what, you're right. Yeah. You're absolutely right. So I think, and our community, I've historically been bad at dealing with conflict and communication, and sometimes that leads to not holding people as accountable as we should. And same for him. Like, he's had trouble with conflict and communication. So you got two guys here that aren't great at, or weren't or haven't been most of their life great. I've done a lot of work on that personally. Great at conflict or having hard conversations. You've got the apprentice, if you will, that is 10 years younger than me, calling me out, and like, that was kind of my aha moment. And I think it was also the moment that he realize that he could have those hard conversations and communicate, and B, he could say what was on his mind, and he could get it out, and hold me account, hold whoever accountable. If he can hold his boss or the owner of the company accountable, he ought to be able to, ask anybody else to do something, hold
Sure.
people accountable or delegate or be that, so that was kind of it. When he called me out, it clicked. I think him doing that also gave him an immense amount of courage, and just kind of overnight empowerment, if you will. And then I think since then, I mean, and my schedule is still a little different than it used to look, but um, I'm here just as much as I have been in all the years past. Just a couple of days a week that I can't get here till 9, 10 o'clock, and that's really about the only thing that's changed. So since then, I feel like things, and not just with he and I, but with everybody, it's kind of, all the guys that were here and gone have been gone for a good while now. That relationship's getting better, and then so everybody's kind of feeding off that. So like kind of really settling in and coming together as a team.
Yeah.
Just a few pieces out there that we still need to, and we're doing great. Like the last 2 weeks we've gone out and put down, I mean, I don't know, close to 10,000 tons in the last 2 weeks, and we've seal coated a bunch too, and we've got to seal coat half of what we just paved too. Just as big a projects coming right at us. So company wide, we've done as much, production or quantity of work in the last couple of weeks that we typically historically have do. It takes us 4 to 6 weeks to do. So
Yeah.
we're executing like crazy, and it's, other than the heat, it's been pretty effortless. Like it's not been, you've been out there. It's been pretty fun to be a part of. So.
It's neat, man. It's
Um,
I don't know that there's many places that I've worked in the past where, especially with at least, I don't know, 10 people with, obviously different opinions and stuff like that, but the way a lot of situations not have been handled but haven't been handled is people
Yeah.
just talk to each other behind
Yeah.
their back, and it just
Yeah.
there's just
Yeah.
20 things all of a sudden going around the entire team,
Right.
and there's no,
Right.
and the communication just really breaks down because
Yeah.
no one really trusts each other or cares
Yeah.
enough to,
Yeah.
because no one's solving the solution. And it's really neat to see the way those guys work, and I appreciate you sharing, because there's a ton of like solid topics we could address in asphalt paving, how to do this, X's and O's, but when it comes down to it, the having the team operate and being able to have a work environment where everyone's collaborating and making the best out of their jobs and opportunities, it doesn't get much better than that. So thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. There's a lot of good there's a lot of good pavers out there, and seal coaters and pavement maintenance guys, and there's plenty that are more skilled and talented than we are. But it's like, if you can hone in and dial in that culture piece, and everybody always says when you start mixing personal with business, or business with personal, you can't do that in business. And I think that is the biggest farce. I think it's the biggest, most leading, old school, whatever kind of premise, whatever it is in business that's still out there today, is like, you can't get down and know your people. I'm not saying you got to know everything about their personal life, but you can't get to know them on a personal level, and vice versa, and be open enough to share some things with each other, and get on that level of respect with people. Like, I don't care how good of a paver you are, what your jobs look like what kind of company are you able to run, and what kind of environment are you able to provide for people. Like, people talk about the labor shortage, and nobody wants to go to work, and I can't find any good help. It's because your culture sucks. Right. And we're a $20 million company, and we can't get anybody to come work for us, and we got new trucks, and we pay good. Nobody wants to work hard. No, nobody wants to work for you.
Yeah.
Because your culture sucks.
Yeah.
And it's so, if you can get that figured out, the rest of it becomes pretty damn easy. Like,
Sure. Sure. Yeah.
People are having a good time.
Yeah.
Or a better time than they would be. It's 110. It's not having a great time.
It's not a party.
It's not a party, but it's, but when you got a team full of guys that are all, and gals, whatever, they're on the same mission, and everybody's got each other's back, it becomes a hell of a lot easier. Because it's really hard if you don't have that, and it's 110 degrees outside.
Yeah.
And those really hard days start turning into really hard weeks, and then you don't have a later. Nobody wants to come to work. Nobody wants to do that crap. Nobody's gonna do that crap.
It's a hard second half of the season.
Yeah. You can't pay anybody enough. You can't pay enough for people to endure that.
Yeah.
So.
Well, thanks again. Just in wrapping up real quick, if you'd like to contact us, email hello@paveitforwardinc.com.
Hello.
Hello.
I do it every time. Sorry.
That's all right. Beautiful voice, Kevin. Visit us on Instagram @paveitforwardinc or visit paveitforwardinc.com. Give a look around and message us through the contact form there if you'd like. Kevin, any last thoughts for the people today?
Oh, man. No, I don't. I mean, just... we're doing a thought that won't stop.
We can.
I do have a little thought that won't stop, and I guess it's kind of a segue off of. I hope you're prepared. If not, you better get prepared because we're doing a thought that won't stop.
There you go. What's your thought that won't stop?
It's especially now it's gonna be patience. It's gonna be patience and understanding, and just because you're the owner or the leader or the foreman or the manager, I guess the patience needs to go both ways. If you're on the other end of that and you're, the trainee, or you're just a greenhorn, or you're like, have some patience with your manager, but only if that manager, foreman, leader is willing to have some patience with you. Like, it is a long season. It is going to get hot. If your guys, gals are not producing for you and you're beating your head against the wall, I would probably suggest you look in the mirror and say, what can I do? What can I do better? What am I missing? Where am I not being... You're probably not being patient enough. You're not probably being understanding enough. I'm not saying be tolerant. I'm not saying put up with anything, or, Jimmy can't get to work on time. That's a problem. That's not being patient. That's a problem. But just make sure you're doing all the things you can to coach your teams, to be a good leader, to teach, almost as if you would be parenting.
Yeah.
Most people that are, in management, leadership kind of positions, maybe a little older than some other guys on the team, and they probably have a child, or if not two, so just maybe think how do you want your kids to see you. I'm not saying we're parenting or babysitting or giving our employees or teammates any special treatment like we would give our children, but like what's that example look like? How do your kids look at you, look up to you, and then maybe how do my guys look up to me? What do they look at me for? They look to you for advice. They look at you for confidence. They look at you for leadership. You are their safety net. Like, they want to feel safe and trust you, and be able to communicate with you. Like, so what are you doing those things? And a lot of that starts with patience, I believe, for your squad.
Sure, need some mental headspace
in
order to think. Give yourself time to really see what's going on and think about it.
Yep.
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't even know if I ever explained to you why I named my company Mirror Marketing, but that's it. Because I want to work with not only companies, but a leader that's willing to look in the mirror and say, am I doing my best, and is this where I want to go in the future? But
sweet.
I wanted to take. I know you're short on time, but
You're good. Go ahead.
I wanted to. My thought that wouldn't stop is very similar. There was a time about 2 weeks ago when Charlie, my guy that was working with me, I mean, it could have been 3 or 4 hours. We were just saying the exact same thing back to each other, like saying at a brick wall, you don't understand, I don't understand. And, finally it kind of stuck in, and I just had some takeaways from that patience was needed. We both showed up the next day ready to work. And nice. The process now is better than it ever could be if I was just thinking about it myself. And that was just a learning opportunity for me, because He is definitely a very analytical, data-driven person, and I am a very creative person.
Yeah.
And so
Yeah.
the conceptually, it's just really hard to deal with sometimes. But, you know, if it's something I've learned from trying to study other leaders or people I look up to, it's that they typically have someone that's opposite them or has a very different set of characteristics that can
look
help
at Cindy.
them. Yeah.
I mean, you know, Cindy and I.
Yeah, absolutely. So, it's really got me thinking, and also with him being new, you know, because he's definitely taking over more responsibilities, being that we're a newer company, you know. But it's really neat to see that patience and just a different point of view work out. Because if I do take the time to stop and try to understand what he's telling me, and then maybe pry for a little bit more, you know, it's really useful to see the final product. So that's
well, look, I mean, look, he kind of, you know, he's in town last week, and the communication or, you know, whatever happened, when nothing major, like a couple of balls got dropped, and he owned it though. Like he's like, hey, he's like, my next visit in won't look like this at all. Like we're gonna have a better game plan. And
Sure.
I mean, you gotta have some patience for that. I mean, the only way to get better or to improve a system or to realize that a system or process is broken is to break it, or to say, oh, we need to implement something here so this doesn't happen again. Like,
sure.
And if you got someone that can reciprocate that and take ownership of that, or say, hey, I wish this would have looked different, or we would have handled it different, or whatever. Like that's how you get better. That's communication.
Sure.
Right? And that's holding each other accountable. Like, and that's good stuff. Like we won't. Like we're already past that. Like we're moving on. Like all right, good.
Feels great.
Yeah, you know.
It feels like that's it just brings the thrill out of being a business owner to me. Just that type of communication and synergy. Like when two people get together and just make something that could have never been done by either one of them alone.
Yeah, right.
Brings a lot of joy to the financial backbone of trying to give yourself and your family a living. You know what I mean? And,
right.
And you do, you know, you can't take business and personal away, in my opinion as well. But it certainly is. That's been a really good discovery for me as well, is to combine the things. And it doesn't always have to be nose to the grindstone. And matter of fact, it's not always good if that's the case. So
that's right. Yeah.
But in wrapping up, if you'd like to contact us again, hello@paveitforwardinc.com. We're on Instagram. And please send us a message. We love all the feedback. So Kevin, thanks for your time. Anything else you want to tell the people today?
No, I'm good, man. Let's get to work.
Sounds great.
Get to work.
Well, thank you all for your patience during our break. We look forward to supporting you the rest of the season. And this has been the Pave It Forward podcast, where we aim to help leaders in the paving industry who are looking to run more efficiently, meet their ideal client, and improve the lives of those around them through meaningful work. Thanks for listening.